you're not at ease, you're at dis-ease, a disease state. That's what it means when
Okay,
you're
okay,
not
okay. If you go by
feeling
that,
good.
okay. Okay. Yeah, but the disease in my language, the word that I use disease for is for states like cancer and all these things. Basic flu is not a disease for me because it's actually detoxification. So I don't think that it is actually a disease in itself. It's the accumulation of toxins which leads to dangerous states like cancer and all, which is a disease. The flu is not a disease. Anyway,
Sure.
carry on.
uh,
Yeah.
I would probably classify it as like, good disease versus bad disease.
Well, no,
Cancer
detoxification
cancer would be
versus
like a
disease.
bad
That's it.
disease, due to buildup of
Well,
toxins, and then a good
No, it's not
disease
good and
is
bad.
when the
an
toxins are flushed
example
out.
an
Well, I just
example would be like if you have mercury in your brain and your brain gets damaged from the mercury, that damage will cause Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a disease, but you can also detoxify aluminum and get symptoms of dementia. So that symptom, dementia, would be sickness, which is beneficial, but you can also have disease, which is damage caused by toxins, which is not beneficial. It's actually just damage.
yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
there's a distinction
that's
between
another
there's a
theory.
distinction.
Okay,
The
that's
point
even
would be the
another, that's
distinction
another
between
set of,
disease and sickness.
yeah. Well, and that's another kind of set of ideas too that I would have to be unpacked. One thing I just wanted to say to percentage, you would kind of characterize that I said that if you get one of these infectious diseases, as it were, or illnesses, that you build immunity. I would say, yeah, that is like a thing that you can build immunity to them. However, I wouldn't really suggest that it's a good thing though. I mean, essentially, it's just not. I mean, I think these things exist in the world, just like sunburns and car accidents and all kinds of things exist. So I think these infectious agents exist as well for their own purposes. But however, so even though they exist and perhaps they were created to make us sick, or that they do make us sick and it's part of creation, nonetheless, I would say it still should be like avoided at all costs to the best of my abilities, or to the best of the abilities, by, yeah, like maybe not swimming in stagnant ponds and drinking stagnant pond water, maybe not like things like this. Like, I'm not into wearing masks or anything like that. I don't believe, that's a whole other topic, but I'm just saying, yeah. So what I'm saying is that the disease process, like if there's a bacteria that gets you and you get food poisoning, quote unquote, you vomit, you go through a night or two of vomiting, sickness, diarrhea, whatever. Um, like it happened, but and depending on what it is, you may or may not have built immunity. That's another question. I think there's some bacteria that don't necessarily build immunity. They're more like bleach. They're just always toxic, and you just don't want to get exposed to it again. Whereas there's other ones that, like things that they call the influenzas. It does seem like those you can build immunity to, because I think those work differently. What they call viruses. Anyway, so I'm just saying, like, if you get poisoned by something, it's just unfortunate. Like it happened, and yeah, it might be part of your life and your journey. But so, anyways, I'm just saying, like, it really like should be avoided. I'm just saying overall, I don't see it as a positive thing. And like, if there's a pathogen that we know is like in water, for example, like instead of just thinking, oh yeah, well, it'll be good for you in the end, so just drink it and get sick. And I would say no, like we should probably try to get that thing out of the water.
How do you
I
identify the
disagree
difference
with.
between
I think if
Yeah.
there's
How do you
any
how do you
like kind
identify
of
it, practically speaking?
if there's any kind of buildup of immunity, I would say expose yourself to as many things. Survival of the fittest. You want to make your body the fittest. You want to desensitize yourself to all of these sicknesses, all these you know antigens or causative like agents, so that you are basically best equipped to survive. You don't have to fear anything. You can go into any. You're resilient. You know that would I feel like that would be the best
yeah,
kind of thing to do
So,
if
if
true.
Gio, on a practical,
Well, I
wait,
just
wait a
don't think it
minute.
works that
Gio,
way though. Like you wouldn't want to go around like just like injecting people's, blood, or like drinking people's saliva. Like I mean, I'm not
well,
like
no,
I'm not like a
you
germaphobe in
do
any.
it
I'm not a I'm not a germaphobe in any way. However, like if I'm at a party or something, I'm not about to go like sharing glasses with people like saliva. I'm not about to like exchange fluids with people. Like even though like if I got something that from them that I would then build immunity, I guess in the end that would be beneficial. But I'm just saying, like I don't think it's like a beneficial thing to just.
if you're not exchanging fluids, I don't
Gio,
know how to
based on
party.
wait a minute,
Fair enough. I
wait
know.
wait a minute, wait a minute, Gio, the way you're going and the way you're talking, you can never use any natural medicine because every single thing has bacteria in it. There's no good and bad. They're always there. So the only way those medicines actually work is because there are living bacteria in it. There are herbs and all that in which bacteria are active. So that is the only way you're able to heal yourself. detoxify yourself. If you are going by this logic that there are good and bad bacteria, first of all, there's no evidence. Second of all, there's no proof that bacteria is the one which is causing the disease. Thirdly, if you believe that, you won't be able to heal naturally. You need to rely on all these pharmaceutical drugs and everything, which how they actually work. I suppose, right?
Well, he said
So
that there's
that's how.
good and bad bacteria, though.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah,
did link a whole bunch of things together there. Like I would almost need to hear that back, and we go through those things one at a time because
there's
you
no
said a lot of
evidence.
things,
My
and you
point,
also
the
characterized
reason
my
why.
viewpoint. I hold on, man. Let me respond. You characterized my viewpoint in a way that I do not think. So yes, there are bacteria in all kinds of things. If you're talking about like plants and herbs, there could be some bacteria on that leaf or whatever it may be. It doesn't mean that it's one of the bad infectious ones. It could be one of the beneficial ones, and so on. It could just be beneficial bacteria. However, herbs don't necessarily function through bacteria. They generally like there's not like necessarily like medicinal bacteria as part of, well, there could be medicinal bacteria, like good bacteria. What I'm saying is that the herb itself, like let's say milk thistle seed, like I mentioned, or let's say echinacea. Like echinacea is antibacterial in various ways, like golden seal. These things are like antifungal, antibacterial. So the plant actually has compounds in it that can neutralize toxins. So like there are bad bacteria in the environment that even the ancients had to deal with, and like people in tribes. That's why they have shamans. That's why they have medicine men that know the things, so that if you get sick or something like that happens, they can give you the plants you need. And the plants seem to be designed to have
They
compounds
never
in
blame
them.
it on that.
Hold on, let me
They
finish.
never blame.
Oh
No,
my
no, no.
gosh,
Wait.
man.
They never
Tyler,
blame.
please don't interrupt, bro.
Yeah, I'm just going to temporarily mute you. You got to just let people finish. So the last thing, and then you can go, you can respond. So anyways, the last, what was the last part I was saying? Oh, that the plants have compounds in them that are antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, quote unquote, and they actually have compounds that can, even like that can kill candida, for example, like a
Lime
bad
juice.
yeast.
Lime juice
Okay,
does that.
so let me just clarify certain things here. You brought up shamans who said that they said that, oh, they were basically trying to remove bad bacteria, but reality is, throughout all the medical practice throughout the entire world, whether it is Iranian medicine, whether it is shamanic, the one that the Central Asian one, right, and then the Indian Ayurvedic medicine or the Chinese medicine, doesn't matter which kind of natural medicine you're talking about, they never blamed bacteria or microorganisms for anything anywhere. They believed in spirits, bad spirits who can actually cause disease. They believed that otherworldly beings, yeah, spirits basically, believed that fear, stress, and all these things cause disease. And then they believe that environment, if the environment changes, it causes disease because of toxins, but it doesn't get transmitted. They never believed that. And even today, if you go to parts of the world where there are tribes living, like animal tribes and all these hunter gatherer groups, they actually live on all these herbs. They eat herbs and natural raw herbs, and they eat all these raw animals. They eat all these things, and they never get sick. They have the least amount. The Eskimo population, the African populations, they don't get any of these diseases that are there in the first world countries. And based on what you're saying, if there is a bad bacteria, they should be getting the diseases as well. There is no such thing as good and bad bacteria to begin with. They eat raw food, natural food, and they don't get diseases because there is no bad
Okay.
bacteria.
You're not really addressing his point, though, Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
No, you're
Because
not.
there is no
Look.
bad bacteria.
Well, Tyler,
Wh-
level up. What's the point that he's not addressing?
Do you think maybe that there could be bacteria that could thrive in an environment that would only be toxic to humans? Because I actually culture bacteria and do it on purpose and eat it. So when you actually look into culturing bacteria, the health of the bacteria is dependent on what it's feeding off of. So this is
Exactly.
the whole key. It's based on
So
what the
my point.
bacteria is feeding off of. So there is
So
no
that is what I was
hold on, bro,
addressing.
hold
That is
on.
why I'm level. You just said that I'm not addressing his point, right? I actually addressed the fact that the hunter-gatherer groups where there is no industrialization, so there is less toxication of the environment, and because of that, and because there is less toxication of the environment, the bacteria is growing up in an environment which is not toxic to begin with, and that's why when they eat it, they don't get diseases. They're actually healthy because the environment is not toxic. So the
All right.
point is there is no bad
He
bacteria.
doesn't.
All right, let me respond. One of the points that I think I had made last was about that plants contain certain compounds in them that have antibacterial, antifungal, and that can be shown as well in a laboratory where they can have someone's hot micing, where they can where they can have the bacteria, and then they can apply the compounds that are in the plants to the bacteria, and the bacteria will die. So they can actually show the antibacterial effects of plants, meaning plant compounds can be shown directly to essentially kill or disable bacteria, to where if you were to, culture that bacteria that normally would make someone sick, if you were to
Those are poisonous plants.
if you were to hold on, if you were to before you gave it to them, if you were to add a plant compound like oregano oil or something like this that kills that bacteria, you then would not get sick from the bacteria. So what I was saying about the plant things is that plant have compounds to do this. Now, real quick, because you brought up the shamanism thing, I don't agree with that either. There definitely are plants and herbs in the jungle that they use for very specific illnesses. Like when someone comes down with a particular type of sickness, they will give them a particular type of herb for that. And so there are things in the environment that can cause these things. And now I would agree. They do incorporate the spiritual aspect of it, more than just the physical. However, they also address the physical directly, and they're aware of that. Now,
they never blamed it on bacteria and microorganisms throughout, and no, you cannot find it anywhere. That was my point.
No, they do.
They never said that.
Shamanically, shamanically, they actually specifically do. They also do in the Chinese medicinal system, the Ayurvedic, and all of them they do. Like in the shamanic, for example, there's the process of like spiritually extracting the blockage in the body, but then there's also the physical, which is why you purge and why you like certain there's many plants that make you. Bro, you're interrupting non-stop, man. You gotta chill, bro.
Just relax.
Try to listen to what he's saying, and if you need to write notes down, do that. Just let him finish, and then you could say your part and respond to each thing he's saying.
Well, I know it is frustrating if people bring up multiple points, because I feel that way too. So I'm trying just to stick on the one, which is just the plants and the shamans that use them. And what all I was trying to say is that there is like a spiritual kind of thing, like a component of it in the body. So they view it that way, the actual like energy, as it were, the energy in the blockage. However, the physical is also known to be a thing within all those practices. And like ayahuasca, for example, and many other plants that are used in the shamanic traditions activate an actual physical purging for a reason, because there are physical things that need to be released from the body.
Yeah, so let me answer that. This is not true at all. The fact that they are actually blaming it on bacteria, it is simply not true. They did not. No practice actually believes that microorganisms cause disease. The Ayurveda, for example, you basically brought up Ayurveda. I actually practiced it. In Ayurveda, there is a concept called Vishanu, which in Sanskrit basically means toxins. And they never said that microorganisms cause disease, because Ayurveda is based upon the practice of using herbs, plants, and everything, and in its natural forms to heal without any external toxins or artificial stuff added into it. So Ayurveda doesn't believe that microorganisms cause disease. Iranian medicine doesn't believe that microorganisms cause disease. There is no place where you can actually show me that they actually believe that, because I've read it. The pharmacopoeia never says that. It's toxins, environmental toxins, fear, mental state, the way you eat and everything. That is what they talk about. Shamans never said that. Shamans never say that microorganisms are the ones behind disease, let alone bacteria. The thing that you're talking about, they're basically talking about spirits, dark energy and all these kind of things, like otherworldly beings affecting your